Yeah, on an afternoon when Man City fans are celebrating, we're talking football, but before we get there, two teams will be relegated in this current Jamaica Premier League JPL season. That's the final word from the Vice President of the Jamaica Football Federation, Raymond Anderson. Anderson creating confusion and chaos within the football fraternity in Jamaica when on Monday he publicly stated in a television interview on TVJ that there would be no relegation from the JPL.
Today, the decision was taken from 2021 to really have 16 teams 2023. So the process just continued. There was a technical paper that put towards the board, and the board approved it from that time. What I am aware of, if they don't, that means it's management fault because it was set. And the rules clearly state that where we are now and where we'll be after the next final of year. So that means somebody not been reading the rules.
In a radio interview on Tuesday, though, Anderson walked back his comment and apologized for the confusion it caused. He said, "I must apologize, but we did at the forceps decide we would not have any relegation. But when the PFJL appealed to the JFF and the competitions committee and technical committee, that made a recommendation to the board and it was adjusted." So it was my bad to read from the old notes instead of the adjusted notes. So I'm really sorry, but there will be relegation. I am really sorry. I made the error and I had to correct it. The damage is that the information from my side was wrong and I corrected it. I am sorry for that. Professional Football of Jamaica Limited, the body which administers the JPL, issued a press release citing the official rules and regulations of the competition. At the end of the 2023 season, two teams will be relegated, it said. The top two teams from the 2022-23 National Tier 2 competition will be promoted to the 23-24 Jamaica Premier League. And we are pleased to be joined by the Chief Executive Officer of the PFJL, Owen Hill. Just for clarification, there will be two teams relegated from the JPL this season, and based on performances, it will be Faulkland FC of St. James and Chapelton Maroons from Clarendon. Owen, welcome to the SportsMax Zone. Great to have you back on, albeit in confusing circumstances this week. But you can confirm that 14 teams will again play in the 23-24 season, with the two teams promoted replacing the two teams demoted from this current season.
You're correct, Lance, and I mean, good evening to the viewers. But yes, you are in fact correct. The rules states clearly there will be, two teams relegated after the completion of the 22-23 season, and two teams will be promoted from the Tier 2 competition.
Yeah, so in hindsight, we don't want to dwell too much on the confusion that erupted on Monday, but we can see where it came from, because there was that meeting back in 2021 when there was a decision to extend the number of teams in the Premier League to 16 teams, which would happen incrementally, two teams being added on and no teams being relegated. So there was talk of that happening. But can you talk us through the process of the current JPL organizers resisting that process of extending the number of teams in the Premier League?
Well, I mean, it's less about resisting. It's more about looking at it from a holistic standpoint. Let's start from the position of we are trying to build a industry, a sporting industry, local football, and it's considered professional. Now, for professional football to happen, there are a number of elements, there are a number of inputs that you'd want. And, especially coming on the heels of us seeing what happens globally, our standards have increased. So you'd want to know that the players, first and foremost, who are playing in the league is considered a professional. And by a professional, we mean they earn a certain amount, they can live, their livable wages, they can contribute to the general society like a normal employee would do at any organization, and they can be motivated to get back to work every day. Yeah, so those are elements that obviously would be considered. I mean, clubs, talking about infrastructure, we know we're in a developing island state, so the club infrastructure is not the greatest. We keep chipping at it, but at the same time, for an expansion to happen, then it would require more input and resources from the clubs. And currently the clubs have been having it tough, just maintaining what they currently have, much less to improve on it.
Yeah, well, Owen, to consolidate the position that you're articulating, Chairman of the PFJL, Chris Williams, has revealed their desire to have a 12-team league. This is what he said. We have a bigger issue, and the bigger issue is that we need to have 2 teams go down. We cannot afford 14 teams. So let us go back down to 12, effective the 24-25 season. That is what we want. That Anderson comment was a mistake. We have moved on. Now let's go back to 12 for 24-25. So coming from your own setup, Owen, there is a general feeling that even at 14, they are a little above the comfortable number for the Premier League.
Yeah, you definitely, just by the raw math of it, what it takes to run a club on average for a season. Truthfully, it's no less than about 25 million Jamaican dollars. And if you do your quick math, if you multiply that by 14, we're looking at about 350 million Jamaican dollars. Now, for an economy like ours, over a spread 8 months, it's going to be difficult to earn revenues, whether it be through sponsorship or gate or any kind of deals that we try to broker, to ensure that the clubs stay viable and at least be competitive for that 8-month period. So it's very difficult maintaining 14, and the position by the chairman, supported by the board of directors, is ultimately trying to look at the number and rationally provide a justification for the reduction.
And Owen, whenever a product does well, of course, more people want to be associated with it. We start thinking, okay, we're thinking big. We want to have a lot more teams. We feel as if it's an opportunity now for more youngsters to get a piece of the pie, if I'm to say that. However, in this case, are you saying that, sometimes expansion can water down the product, and, you at the PFJL would not want that to be the case at all?
You are spot on, Maria, because yes, we're not against expansion. I mean, nobody from the PFJ level is against expansion. We want the sport to grow. But we're saying let's do it in a sensible way. Let's incrementally do it. I mean, when we had that period of COVID where there was a moratorium on the demotion and promotion, it helped. When we had spaces where concentrated football was playing, it helped. So it's not about reducing the numbers just because we don't want to have those numbers. What we're thinking about is the viability, the economic viability. So if you look at expansion, it must be done in the context of strategy. Where are we trying to go? How are we getting there? And at every given point, we reassess. So our reassessment was done, and it is proving that let us kind of hold off on what we call expansion, because currently the clubs that exist within the same space are finding it difficult.
Right, and Owen, now that, we've heard your point of view, we've heard a quote from, of course, Chris Williams, chairman of the PFJL. Is it that, come 2024-2025 season, and I know it's not set in stone as yet, maybe we'll be leaning closer to a 12-team Premier League season?
Well, I wouldn't want to put the cart before the horse or jump ahead. I can tell you that our working relationship with the parent body, the JFF, is pretty strong. So we're consistently consulting and looking at best practices, assessing what our current macroeconomic realities are, and ensuring that we make the right decision for the greater good of football. And like I say, we're trying to build an industry. It's not just trying to play tournaments. It's not just putting players on the field. We want to build it solid enough so that players can be earning properly, clubs can be earning, and the overall ecosystem is better off. If we have more infrastructure in the country, if we have greater club viability, then you'll find that, more people want to jump on board. So again, let me reiterate, it's going to be difficult having 16. We're seeing how difficult it is with 14. So we're consistently reassessing, and our appreciation of the relationship with the JFF, we consistently have discussions to see what is best for the overall growth of the product.
Yeah, and Owen, on a point of clarification, you mentioned 25 million Jamaican dollars. That is what it costs each team per season to run their operations properly. That's approximately 160. Pardon?
At minimum, 25 million.
At minimum. So that's approximately 163,000 US dollars for our viewers outside of Jamaica who need to be connected with the figure.
And I mean, in the grand scheme of things in global football lands, that may be wages for just a star player.
That's right.
However, for our realities, when you look at that, the investment that is required, the kind of support, we just don't. The appetite for that is not here as yet, and we're competing with scarce resources, and we're trying to do what is best. So, yeah, it's easy to look at international standards and try to benchmark against it, but we have to localize it and understand what the realities are in Jamaica. And so far, what we're seeing is let us be a little bit more cautious in how we choose to expand.
Yeah, and just before you go, Owen, I know that a lot has been said for decades about monetizing team gear and so on. And I gather that some of that has gotten off the ground a bit, with some teams actually having jerseys on sale to try to boost their financial
revenues. Yeah, for sure. So what we've done again is look at the holistic system and decide, what elements can be monetized. How can we commercially improve these areas so that the clubs who are a part of the product benefits. And, one of the lines are jerseys, trying to get apparel that, represent the clubs. And currently we're pushing, there's an online store, and those in the diaspora can purchase no jerseys online. And we try to use local avenues, retail outlets, and have the clubs themselves push them. But that's just one aspect of it. I mean, player sales is also important. We need to be earning from the youth players that we have. And, we're also looking to strengthen gate attendance and not just have it only for playoffs, but consistently throughout the league.
Yeah, and we will continue to have this discussion because, of course, SportsMax partners with the Jamaica Premier League football competition, and we are happy to be a part of the process, and we enjoy having these discussions with you. I'm sure we'll continue to talk about this and the progress of the league over time. Thanks, Owen.
Thank you very much for supporting.
Yeah, a lot more football to discuss on the SportsMax Zone today. We go to break. Back with more after this.
Stay with SportsMax on YouTube and follow us on all social pages for updates, news and entertainment.